All right, good night, everybody. Welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank, the 90 minutes of engaging conversation with fathers who, at all statuses and stations, get together, have intellectual conversation about various topics that affect us in our community, in our homes, and in our own personal life. So we're going to get the conversation started tonight. I'm Dr. Ron, the curator of the Fatherhood Think Tank. Let guys go around, introduce themselves, and then we'll get on to the nice topic and conversation. Welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank. Like, share, subscribe right now. Tell people about this. The conversation is about to be probably, as always, inspiring, enlightening, tantalizing, all the words that you can think of, inquisitive, all of that. So go ahead and hit the button, like, share, subscribe, share with other people this conversation, or just hold it, pin mark it for later to listen to, maybe on your ride home from work or when you get to work tonight or what have you. Let me go ahead and let the guys introduce themselves, and then let's get to our topic of tonight. Is what step has you reached today? What step have you reached today? Go ahead, guys. Introduce yourself.
Hi, fathers. My name is.
Right. I guess I can go first, right?
Yeah, no, Rohan already he started already.
Okay.
I'm with you. Hi, fathers. I'm Rohan Rodok. I'm a father of two young ladies. As usual, it's a pleasure to be here with the program to, as they say, metal sharpen metal, to educate and empower. Tonight's topic is really interesting. I like to see how we can dabble into tonight's topic. Great to be here.
Go ahead, Trav.
All clear, Trav.
Go ahead, Trav.
Oh, how y'all doing? My name is Travis Sands. Basically, I'm a father. I'm a husband for over 20 years. I'm currently have my own nonprofit organization. Been in the community for over, so since 2010, and I'm here, and I'm enjoying the Father Think Tank.
All right. Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, 3 young women, 4 young men, a grandson and a granddaughter, and I am always ecstatic to be here. Ron is on you.
Oh, well, I thought you cut. I didn't know if you was finishing that. Okay, I heard you just say static. And I didn't hear anything else after that.
Yep.
Well, that's okay. So let's get busy. So I wanted to probably more than anything, I wanted to actually show the picture for the night show. So I'm gonna pull this image up so you guys can look at it, and then I want to hear maybe some comments about it in reference to some things you might think in reference to it, and how we kind of identify and let people maybe identify the number. There are 7 steps on this. I mean, really 7, 8 steps. So I'll say to you, hey, tonight, what step has you reached? What step have you reached today?
Well, I'd like to start off with number 6. Yeah. And number 6 refers to I can do it. Keep in mind, you wonder why did I choose number 6 and then start at number 1? Well, it's simple. Our journey is different, right? All our journey, we're going in the same direction, but we're not necessarily on the same path. I always say to fathers, along the journey, we sometimes say I won't do it, I can't do it. But at some point, you're gonna have to face reality and say I can do it. Even when as you notice on the ladder, it's higher. The higher up you go, it can be more challenging, especially for a male and a father, because being a father is can be very stressful, and some mothers too. But I would say, safe at this point, my clear thought and process now is I can do it. How fast I can do it, how quickly I can do it, that's a different story. But for the mindset, is that I can do it. That's where I'm at for right now. I can do it, number 6.
I like that. Can I jump in?
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, it's open.
No, I just want to make sure, Listen.
Oh yeah.
So I'm currently I'm actually at number 7, and you know what's so funny about like how this topic, and that's why when you are part of a group and everybody's on the same wavelength. I haven't had a conversation with y'all for a minute, and it's just like I always believe in confirmation conversations, right? And today I came into a realization today, and when you and why I'm at number 7 was the realization came to me was nobody has it all together. You have to make a decision to just keep on going with it. Like you just got to make a decision today that even if I fail, I got to get up and try again. Like it don't matter. So it's like I've looked at all my colleagues. I looked at the people that I worked with. I looked at people that I've had the honor to be around. And it's like you don't remember their failures. You remember their achievements. And I say like all the people they just made a decision to say, hey, I'm not going to stay here. And so that's why today I'm at a 7 when it comes down. I would do it because regardless of what, if I don't do it, somebody else had to pick up where I left off. And I'm like, listen, why, if I got the energy to breathe, if I have the energy to if I have the eyesight, if I have the ear sight, if I have the ability to do anything, I'm going to do it. I don't care how many times I fail, as long as I get up and keep trying, I'm here with it.
Okay, that's awesome. I would say number 5. And the reason for me being number 5 is because I'll try to do it. Yeah, number 5. It's because that's just my personality. That's just me. Number 5 to me poses no judgment. So it doesn't, it's about what justice, number 5 to me is what justice live at, right? And so it doesn't judge up or it doesn't judge down. It doesn't have any judgment at all. It's just what justice lives for me. And it's just saying, you know what? I am going to give what they call equal, right? Or reciprocity. And that's what 5 represents for me. The reciprocity between me and the day, you know, in that day. And so you asked me what happened for that day. So that's number 5 is the reciprocity, again, in the relationship between me and that day I existed. So number 5 works perfect.
And gentlemen, keeping in mind, the question asks, which step have you reached today? But those numbers can change. Those numbers can be changed tomorrow. It can change an hour later.
Well, I mean, I think you hit it right on the head, Rohan, because the reason why I even thought about presenting this is that reason, because what you can find out is that every day we can be at a different step. And it's very important for especially fathers, men in the day society to recognize that it doesn't matter what step you're on. It's just that you're on the stairs, right? And so this idea of being on the stairs is probably more important than what step you're going to be stepping on, or have you reached the top? Because a lot of times after you have, you know, maybe had a goal or a plan or something that you want to do, you reach the top, and yes, I did it, but then eventually you'll start over again to a new cycle of something else you want to do and how you would do it and how it will happen. So this is a great point, and especially right now. And I brought this topic to really talk in a long sense that, you know, May is Men's Mental Health Month, and to really be able to kind of look and discuss June, but June is also Father's Day is in June. Men's Mental Health Month is in June, and a lot of times when we seeing fathers, especially maybe fathers going through the struggle of co-parenting, just going through the struggle of even just parenting in you know, separation, the different steps that they may be on may affect them in different ways of how it works out and how it ends up going. So I thought, you know, let's look at this and kind of figure out, understand different steps and places that we are. And one of the more important things is knowing that you can be on a step, but that doesn't mean that you got to be on that step forever. It is fluid. You can keep moving up and down a step, and there is no. I like to say this. We like to say let's get things done, but also moving out this time frame of when some things got. Sometimes you could be doing multiple things. That means that you're on different steps at the same time. You know, these are some things to really look at. So I know that I can think of a place that I can be on every one of these steps and different steps. I mean, I can be at the I won't do it. I can't do it. I want to do it. How do I do it? I'll try to do it. I can do it. I will do it. Yes, I did it. I know that is any kind of multiple places you can be on, and I can be on many of those at any time. So that's a great point to kind of like looking at in this whole situation.
And
And
and add to that, think about a father. Think about a father. We have fathers here with more than one children, up to 7, even some 8. That's more. That's you're playing a role in your child's life or your children's life in all those stages, and even more. So fathers, it's important that you you take care of yourself, because if you notice on the steps, you're climbing up. That takes a lot of energy to climb up those stairs, especially the one where it says, "How do I do it?" That's the one where you reach out to the Fatherhood Think Tank, and we'll teach you how to do it.
Mm.
So this is a very good analogy of what fathers go through on a day-to-day basis. It's especially engaged fathers. I want we gotta put a shout out to them too. But nevertheless, there are some fathers that are not close to their children, and they're not necessarily not engaged, but mentally they are. And hopefully one day they'll be a part of their children's life. I can give you an example. My daughter is 18. No, she's 19. And she came back to me and said, I want to live with you. And she's here with me now. So for all those fathers out there who think, there's no hope, there's pain, you never know. Every situation is different. And when it's your time, it's your time. Keep that in mind.
I wanna also add into to this levels of what stages, because just recently, you know what I mean, and I'm saying, like, when I say where I'm at right now, yes, I'm at a 6 right now, right? I mean, I'll no, I'm a 7, right? But just recently, I was at a 2, and I think when you're at a 2, the mental state that you're at is a struggle. Like, you're like battling with yourself. Like, am I able to really do this for real? Like, it's like I'm fighting, and then it's like when I was at a 2, it was like talking to myself and making myself, because you don't realize how much stuff you do as a man. You don't really realize how much stuff you do as a father. You don't really understand the actual significance that you are, to people, until like you start evaluating and start looking back at the stuff that you've already done. But when I was at a 2, I was like, yo, I can't do this. And I'm literally talking about, I'm doing a summer leadership camp, right? And I'm sitting there like, I've been doing summer stuff all year. I've been doing things for many years, but I said this year I wanted to do a summer leadership camp. You know what I mean? I wanted to be able to teach kids the leadership skills it needs to be successful in life. And I said, listen, I can't do it. And then here we go. The school opened up and needed for me to do it. The contract was able to extend. Like, okay, so I guess I really wanted to do it. So I'm like, okay, now it's like everything is aligning up. Like the interns are being paid for by company. Like, everything that I'm doing is already in place. Where it's like, even though I was questioning myself, I got to a point where everything started to line up. And it's like, as I kept on climbing the step, we're trying to figure out like how do I do it. And then that's like everything started lining. Okay, then I did it. Then when I went to number 5, I try to do it. Like, somebody told me something that was really, really deep. They say it's not about you trying to do it, it's you doing it. You know what I mean? And that's like, for me, it's like, dang, like, because when you try, you almost putting a little doubt in it. Like, I'm like, just do it. And it's like, almost like the little Nike sign, just do it. Like, don't try to do it, just do it. So I'm in that mindset. Is just like I said, just today, I got that clarification of, it don't matter. We all don't have it together, but it's just getting that mindset that I made a decision that I'm gonna keep on going, regardless if I fall, regardless how bad it is. I'm going to continue to move forward, and that's where I'm at right now. That's why I feel good to be at a 7 right now, where I would do it, because everything's aligning. Even if those things fall apart tomorrow, I'm still in a position where I don't care what it is. I'm gonna get up and keep on going. It is what it is.
You know, Chad, that is. I mean, I think that is important for for fathers to even hear this from other fathers. I'm saying that because this week I've been very focused on conformity, in the idea of people are saying, "Hey, we need to be, we need to make movements. We have a lot of, we have a lot of moments, but we need to make movement. We need to, try to organize and make movement." And I had, the guy was saying I had a disagreement with him. And when I said disagreement, I just had a different opinion about it because I said that what you're not recognizing, you're thinking that we should make movements, and the movements that you're looking at are things that you believe are in the positive and what have you. But we are seeing a lot of movement. It just doesn't happen to be in the area that is what we want to see. There is this movement out here, and I give a great example. There is an anger movement that we have in our society right now. Like people are very angry. They're very hot, very adapt to get into conflict. They are ready to handle most situations with violence, are to facilitate the aggression of violence. And when you see that, I mean, you say, hey, where's that coming from? How is that occurring? It's because we are seeing so much of it. Like the example of having this show and being able to provide fathers with, like Sam, what you were just saying, this is my whole point. I'm coming back round circle. You're saying something. A father can hear that, right? And then they can say, oh, look, I have some influence. And that's what this is what's happening in our society today. Everything is about influence. People are being more influenced than they are, being anything else. So when you're in a battle, I remember, when you're in a battle, you can't, the the British lost America as a colony because they had a standard form of the way they battled. And the Americans who decided to fight the British decided to use guerrilla tactics to fight, and it wasn't in the standard. And so one of the things that would have happened different, if when we look at England, if England and France and the countries over here would have said, we're going to use the same tactics that they're using, this country probably still could be a colony, the Commonwealth. And so it is sometimes we can't get about, we get into a standard that we can't do different from what we've made a standard of. Sometimes, and I used to say this when I used to do mentoring with young men, we got to come in there with our jewelry on. We got to come in there flashing our car. We got to come in there, with the flashy things that kids are seeing people who are doing negative to do. We got to come in there and have those same kind of flashy things that we do have in the positive, and let them know how we got it. I went to school. I have a job making this amount of money every week. I go on vacations. I got this ring. I got this bracelet. I got this jewelry. I got that Mercedes Benz. You're then able to have some influence, because then a kid's looking at somebody in the positive and saying, well, this person ain't, they can begin to use their mind and say, hey, this person not taking any risk to have all the things that I would like to have. I can actually take care of myself and take care of other people and not have to worry about getting caught by the police, getting caught by the jackman, getting caught up in somebody else saying I have something that they don't have. And they know that I got it not legitimate, so they can probably take it. And because I'm not going to go and complain about something that I didn't get legitimate. You can be sure somebody steal my car, I'm going to go and file a report and get mine. And guess what? Steal my car, guess what happens? Steal my car, my insurance that I pay every month, the deduction, I might have to pay that, but that's going to be replaced. And I might get a better car. Compared to if you're out here in the hustle bustle, you got your fancy car, but You don't got no papers on it. You don't got no insurance because you're not working in those realms. So being able to, be on this platform and express that to men, that there is an influence, there is to fathers, that you can do it. Here's fathers doing the same thing, and just figure out where's on the steps that you want to get, and just start moving up. Sometimes you might even have to say, I need to move back some. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like let's say, I'll give an example. Let's say you went to number 3. I want to do it. There's a lot of things we might want to do, but then we realize that we can't do it. So we take a step back. And I won't do it. And Rohan, what am I talking about? When I say you start on number 3 and you go backwards to I can't do it and I won't do it. What do you think I'm pushing at? That sometimes we need to go backwards on.
There's just so much that comes to my mind when you make that statement.
What's our thing? What's the thing that we talk about the most?
I don't know. I'm thinking about something else.
How we know each other? Violence.
Well,
violence, bro.
Yeah.
Violence. I want to do something to this person,
right.
but I can't do it because what is going to cost me? And I'm gonna go either farther back. I won't do it because it's not going to change my situation. What I want.
That is correct. And to add to that, if you remember our one that.
So I'm just using. And we're talking about. A lot of times you have a lot of brothers who are in domestic violence. A lot of brothers who get caught up in partner violence because of children and because of children thing. And what ends up happening, I want to do something can end up meaning you not being able to do it at all.
Yes.
Because once you get the restraining order and it's justified, you're now not fighting an uphill battle. You're fighting from out of a cave hole, and you got to get to even ground to even go and go up a ladder. So you on these steps we're talking about. Sometimes I've seen brothers be on the step and not follow some and do some of the steps, and they end up underneath the steps, going down to the basement. And the basement don't even get you to, to the first step one. You're going into the negative at some point of that.
That's right.
So I'll take this down so we can just get a little look. I'll better look at what we're talking about.
And it's very. I would like to add real quick regarding the anger that seems to be the norm these days. I would say, for most fathers, we all value something. We have something that we value, and that's important to us, right? And value shows your action and your intent. But to add to that, we need definitely to add more stress management. It's quite clear that many people their stress is actually managing their behaviors rather than they're managing their anger and their emotions. So reach out to us. We will definitely be here for you if there's a stressful situation and there is a anger, which is an emotion, and we can definitely be more than happy to assist in teaching you how to manage your stresses. Because there are different kinds, but it's something that we know, and Ron and I talk about this. We make decisions, we make choices, but we are not the ones who make the consequences of our choices. So keep that in mind. We make decisions or we make choices, but we are not the one who make decisions for the consequences of our choices.
Hey, good evening, Teeny. Thank you, Rohan, for that eloquent.
I gotta put it in there, man.
And definitely good evening, Teeny, man. It's a blessing, always a blessing and a pleasure to see you.
Good evening, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear loud and clear, brother.
Awesome. Apologize for being late.
Yeah, well, we don't hold any of that against anybody. Somebody can come at the last 10 minutes because it's not about when you get there. It's that maybe that you get there.
Right.
And what you might have to say in that last little 10 minutes may change everybody's life. And I think that is so important to why this platform is, why we try to have these conversations the way we have them. I listen to probably tons of content on a day-to-day basis, and at a big point of it is a lot of times I feel like the content is geared to, you know, maybe not even people who want something to change, something that they just want to be entertained. They don't want change, they just want to be entertained. And so you begin to see that is a being able to snap the finger moment, say whoop whoop type of moment of the things that's said. But when you really go back and break it down, you question if what's the authenticness of what's being spoken of, or how is that person presenting those things. The great part about this is we're kind of just talking about our experience, and our own experiences that could be that are subjective. They're not objective. It's not saying that our experience was right or wrong. It's just our experiences and some of the experiences that we have been through as fathers in relating to the topics of the things that we're having conversation about. Ultimately lends an opportunity for people to hear some different experiences other than the ones that I think are kind of like, to me, almost manipulation to get people back into this. Like, people know people are angry, right? Or they know they're upset. And then listen, I'm going to give you the fuel or the fire to give to your argument. And I think that if someone came on here, again, we love to always get people who have questions, comments, even to challenge something. When we leave with that challenge, it won't be for a winner or a loser. It just be for our edification of knowledge. And I think that's an important kind of place to have conversation. That you're not leaving to be a winner or a loser. You're actually leaving for, as they say, what good sportsmanship is, how you play the game and how did you enjoy the game. Not if you won or lost, because winning and losing is about tangibles. We're looking for, you know, you don't have to have you don't have to have character to get tangibles. We know that, we see that every day. What we want to be able to have character, we want to be able to have intellect. We want to be able to at some point look at what is our moral stance on things that affect us as fathers and men, and be able to share them and have conversation and be able at some point to bounce those ideas and feelings off of other men and fathers who will be able to give us a clearer insight, a clearer mindset of, you know, what we may be thinking. Not that it's like a cult. We here to say, hey, Travis, you need to do this. And Travis, if you're going to be, you got to do that. No, it's not that, not a way. But I think it's way more of Travis gets to hear conversation. Travis is an intellectual. Travis can think about the things he heard. And one thing about conversation, if you're listening, you take it in, you evaluate it. It's just like anything else. You take what you want to take from it. The rest you let fall to the wayside. And sometimes that little bit that you might have heard might be hitting on something that you were dealing with that you wanted to look for another way to handle or look at or hear or experience something you may have been going on in your position as a man and a father. And I think that is the big part, because there is not very many spaces or places that people care about what, or even men talk about truly what is about men. Because there's a lot of places they talk about what they think men should do and how men should be, but not actually hearing men talk about what they do and how they do it for other men to evaluate. And I'll tell you, a lot of times we will have a lot of web connection based on having similarities of things that may be affecting us, that we may be experiencing, that just gives us that, what I like to say, gives us that support to know that we're not alone in some of the things we face. We're not there. There is a comfort of someone understands what I'm going through, and that they might, that they have some concern and care. Because what I find is there's a lot of people out there who will say, and I probably hear more than anything else, what about me? What about what I want? And a lot of times men and fathers will do what they have to do and make what other people need or want. And we sometimes neglect ourselves. And we move to the even when sometimes we're doing that and people don't even recognize we're doing it because we're not self-grandizing. A lot of times we're not saying I do this, I do that. We're sometimes just moving and making moves to do things. Sometimes just to be good for our character and who we are. Ultimately, sometimes it doesn't work out that way for us.
So what can I add on to it?
Go ahead, bro.
And listen, I like, I mean, first off, I'll always be honored, to just to sit here and listen. As me being, I feel like I'm young in the game, but I'm also, I like to receive what, I sit there and I listen to everything that's said because, in my life, raised in a single family home, just having a mom, but being able to have, in my journey, to actually like take me and show me different things. Just sitting here as a man with kids and a family, like it's always an honor to hear positive men speak about the issues, like the concerns, because how I grew up was a totally different situation. I actually became what I wanted to have. You know what I mean? And just sitting here having a conversation with you all it's amazing, right? So as you were talking about anger, right, and I was sitting here and I was thinking about why is anger one of the issues or the movements that's being talked about when it comes down to us as people, and it's really because we're in the readiness. We're not preparing our young generation, our young men for manhood. Like they don't even understand the level of like standing 10 toes down really mean. I have two boys and I really, they don't even understand the sacrifice that is made when you are men. Like they don't even understand like the happiness to make sure that your family is good. Like so as I'm sitting here and listening, I'm like, people really don't understand this. Like we put ourselves aside most of the time to make sure that we be the providers, right? And even though we're not happy in the moment, we're happy that we're able to provide for our families. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, and then so when I look at these young boys, and I see how they easily fold when it comes down to pressure, like it's like, are we preparing these kids for real life situations? You know what I mean? Like, and the girls are just, that's a whole nother situation. And one of the things that I hope that we do, and this is just something on a side note that I just wanted to talk about eventually, is that every last one of us have skills and talents that we have learned through our journey in life. And I think to help us build what the man think tank is to allow a moment where what is your skill, what is your talent, and can you share that? Like, because I'm an AC mechanic. I mean, I'm an AC foreman for the district. I mean, and just for me knowing a lot of people have air conditioning problems, like, or whatever situation is, it's nothing for me to show you just the basics of what you should know before somebody come to your house and try to rip you a new one. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, so everybody has different traits or something that you can teach one. You know, they teach one. What is the saying? Teach one.
Takes one to teach one.
That part. So I feel like we should all put that on the table. Like all of us are able to share something that are able to help a man to be prepared to run a household for real. But that's all I wanted to say. I know I was everywhere, but yeah.
That's the whole purpose.
That's the whole purpose of the Fatherhood Think Tank, Trav. It's not no limits on what you say. as long as you're complete in saying it, right?
Right.
If you ask me where we are, if I had to really do a manhood or malehood assessment of where we are today, I think we're probably where it's a passage in the Bible. I think it's during the time of Judges, right? And particularly around the time of I think it was Deborah, right? And this is where you start to find that the character of Barack in the Bible, right? And I ain't talking about Barack Obama, but you find Barack in the Bible, and all this transpire around the time of Deborah, who's a woman judge, who Barack actually, and I think if I'm correct, seek guidance from, because he didn't want to go, and I guess go to battle or go to leadership without her, right? And so the time we live in men right now, and I'm starting to assess all this, just looking at men across the board. It said men courage at that particular time has failed them. So simply put, we're living men are basically cowards right now. That's what I'm saying.
Men are basically what?
Cowards.
Cowards.
Oh,
And so we're living in a time of cowardly men across the board. Here's why. Because men, and I'm watching what's going on, I'm talking about a lot of stuff. Men are too scared, and I never thought we'll be pacified by wealth, right? So men are scared to lose the wealth of their brand, and they're basically almost scared to be men. And so you're not going to say anything to offend, right? What offends your manhood? You're not going to say anything, right? Or better yet, to offend what's actually attacking your manhood. We're living in a climate of cowardly men. I could say that 10 toes down. And so when you watch this and you see this, right? Because they say, oh, if I say something, I might lose this support. If I say something, my brand may go down. If I say something, I might, you understand? And so here it is, men who's supposed to be the authority, right, is scared to confront or even offend the influence. You are the authority. And anytime the authority succumbs to the influence, that's a coward. And so we're living in a climate of cowardice. I'm going to say it for what it is. I say it to the high, I say it to the low. It's just what it is. And when you too are afraid to offend, you understand, being the authority, you're afraid to offend the influence that may be offending, that may be an offense in your child. So we're afraid to offend the influence that our children are under. We are afraid to offend the influence that our women are under. We are afraid to confront the influence that our communities are under. Yes, we are living in a climate of cowardly men. And that's the thing that's going to separate the men from the boys. You are the authority. Never stop being that, good, bad, and indifference. God told you to be that in season and out of season. So it's not going to cost you nothing to stand up for who you are and being that authority. But the minute you stop being that authority, it's going to cost you everything. Mark my word. That's where we at.
Well, I think we see that presently, right now. We see it. We see so much of it in our young men and our young women being in the situation of fathers not really being able to, are not engaging with their children, are not being in the home with the children. We're seeing the residuals of that right now. So there is this point where, yes, I want to say to fathers, we have to do. I mean, they're. I'm not talking to the fathers who are in a situation and they can. I'm talking about the ones who won't. Who on what step that is? Step 8. That I won't do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do this. There are some dads who wish they could do it, but the situation doesn't align itself. But I'm saying stay steadfast, and as I think Lightborn is pointing out, it takes courage to stay steadfast. it is easy to at some point to say, I ain't doing this, I'm out of here. I'm good. I ain't even fooling with this. I'm gonna do my
But
thing.
but you know also, and I'm glad on like bro, you act like you actually said something that was really deep, and that's why when it come down to what I try to teach these kids, standing for something or you'll fall for anything to provide, like the generation don't even know nothing about that. Like, and I mean honestly, even the elders them don't even have that anymore. Where like I was raised around like you stood for something for real. Like your name meant something. Like you had to stand on something. Like you stand on the like back in my days, like they stood for like games and stuff like that. Like you was part of this street or that street. Like how I grew up, that was what it's about. Like you stood on your last name. If you was a part of a certain family, like they didn't mess with you. Like that right there is missing. These kids don't stand for nothing. And I'm not even talking about these kids. Our fathers don't stand for nothing anymore. Like right now, all they're looking for is somebody to do a little twerk or something like that, and they fall for that. You know what I mean? A little glitter ain't gold for real. And that's where I'm like this. Like if you really stand for something, if I know that you're standing on whatever you're standing on, I'm with you with it. But the reality is that we don't know what nobody stands for. Like we don't know, and then whatever you standing for, is it really worth standing for? Because if it's not worth standing for, it then allows everybody to fall short by somebody else standing for nothing that's not real. So honestly, like I'm trying to change the actual narrative because I don't want to just be the one to complain about, oh yeah, we these all these cowards out here, but I want to also say, how can we change that mindset? How can we change that culture of cowardness? Like how can we do it? And the only way I know how to do it is getting these kids to start asking the question, what do you stand for? Ask your parents them, like, what do they stand for? Like go into the house. You gotta stand for something. Because if you don't stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. Like it's really bad. It's really bad. We gotta push that narrative. What are you standing on?
So you brought up a very talk about values and what we stand for. If history shows somewhat the future, and many times for the African American, I'm not gonna speak for everyone. I listen to this guy called Tupac. He talk about we gotta make a change. I like to listen to that song. And look how long that song has been around years, but every time I'm going to work, I listen to that dude. Simple. We got to make a change. So there are people out there who are spreading the word. But the problem is this: we're on social media. There's so much things coming at you all the time that we forget to focus to make change. And Tupac talk about that: the way we eat, the way we live, the way he talk about a lot of stuff. And a chain is only as strong as the links that are attached. And many times, to be honest, we're just like pieces of the chain. And until we can become the chain, we're just going to be.
But I'm going to tell you, Ron, I mean, Rohan, I'm not going to dump this on black men. I'm not going to dump this on poor men. I'm not going to dump this on working class men. Because I'm going to tell you, and I got a teachable moment, and I'm going to put it right where it's at. Listen, let's go to the highest authority in the land. Remember I told you we're talking authority now, right? All right.
Right.
When authority comes, a good example about when a man's authority come to succumb to influence was the Biden, the situation with President Joe Biden. That's a good example. As a matter of fact, it's an excellent example. And so here we go. And you know what? You got to say what needs to be said when it needs to be said. And so Kamala Harris, right, who was the vice president, Joe Biden was the president. They was in a presidential marriage. Would you agree to that? Yes. I don't even have to say it. I'll answer it for you. And so they was in a presidential marriage. Now, right? Because remember, he's the authority in that marriage. He's the president. She is the vice president. Had she just been submissive to that man's leadership, you understand? Had she been submissive, a word that women seem to have a problem with, you understand? But it's still their position.
And so had she been submissive to that leadership that she was under, right now, I kid you not, and this is factual, and guess what? She was warned about it. They were warned about it. And they functioned in an influence and overthrew, or overthrew that man's authority and nominated her to be the what they call it, the whatever, the front runner, whatever.
Right.
And so now, had she submit to that man's leadership, guess what will be happening right now as we speak? History would have been made right now as we speak, because she would have automatically been the first woman president of the United States right now. You understand? And we sitting here like cowards and act like nothing ever happened. Oh, Trump is in the position. Trump is in the position because God put him there because of our disobedience. Had she submitted to that man's damn leadership, we won't be having this problem. But she didn't. And when the authorities succumb to the damn influence, you get a Trump. We earned this where we at. So I don't want to hear no complaining and bitching and crying. We're going to suffer. You damn right we're going to suffer together. And one thing we know how to do is black people suffer. So welcome to the damn party.
That part. Said that. You said that. Listen. Hey.
But Lightburn, submissive works in certain culture. You know, if you think about it, that don't necessarily work in this culture.
Man, submissive is not a damn culture. It's an order. You see the difference? And that's the problem about negotiating. I'm like, man, ain't nobody negotiating that. Everything I'm talking, I'm like, I don't speak, and I speak in non-negotiables. That's why I have to present facts. And when you got facts, there's nothing else to negotiate. You understand? That's what you call authority. And so never forget your authority. Know who you are, man. And guess what? You don't waver on that, because guess what? Just, you know how your children are? I'm going to tell you something. Women are the men like children are the women. You may not like it. We may not like the order, but if I read Genesis correctly, it comes with the curse. People are like, what? I know the curse because I studied it. The Bible says it's a part of that curse that we kind of overlook and we mum over. We like, mum. Nobody really teaches on it because you don't see it. It says to the woman, it gives a two-part curse. It says to the woman, you're gonna bear children and pain, this and that. And that's the one we focus on because that's the most dramatic one. But then it says something very wise and very subtle. It says, and then it said, basically, you're gonna be in the habit of trying to overthrow your husband, but he's gonna rule over you.
Preach, preacher.
Yes, sir.
You understand? We all miss that. I'm like, I got a great wife, but I see it in her too. I saw it in my mama. I see it in my daughters. You understand? Because
but Lightborn, let me jump in there as you're saying that, right? Because I think that we see that in them. And I think that you ask the average black man, right? He'll say he's seen that in a woman, his mother. He see it in the woman that he's involved with, the women and this and that. But I think that we have to remember, and I think we have to put in context that, and sometimes you don't see it in other women because other women haven't went through what our women went through, and as the men, they haven't went through what we have went through as the men. There is this unspoken dynamic between black men and women where women have been able to take the lead in our society, not just recently, always. Listen, I think about the founder of the college I went to, Mary McLeod Bethune, and I think I studied her this year a lot more than I ever studied her, even when I was in college. And the ability that she had to have the power she had during the time in history to be advisor to 3 presidents, to have the ability to amass the power in the outspoken word, and so often in our community, most people would not even know that she had a full husband who worked at the college. He wasn't the leader, right? He wasn't the scene leader, right? And I think this is the big part that a lot of men fall into, that sometimes we want to be the scene leader instead of being the leader that pulls most of the strings. Listen, if our women can go and make the moves, they're still going to need us to tell them what moves to make. But a lot of men they become insecure by the idea of, I should be in the front. You're not going, listen, for your own safety sometimes, and the safety of your whole family, you sometimes can't be in the front, because our society has a bullseye on us first. If there's a scapegoat for anything that it is, you can be sure that, right now there's 2 trials going on involving sexual violence, and 2 trials, but you only hearing about one. Why is that? Because it's a great scapegoat to highlight black men as the bad things in society. And that then means that if you have the smart enough man who gets with the smart enough woman, they will understand the conditions that they are in, and they will then begin to say, we need to transform and develop another way to maneuver this. And a lot of times we have ego and pride and all these other things that doesn't allow us. Because you can be sure you can let your woman go and run whatever she's gonna run. She still, I ain't met a woman yet in leadership who didn't need true advisement. Because in that leadership, guess who she kept bumping her head up against? The men.
Ron. Herein lies the dilemma, if you will.
Yes.
The points that you just made are excellent. From if you break it down to smaller microcosm, it really depends on that female or that male in order to propagate the proper order that Brother Lightborn spoke of.
Right.
There are women out there who understand the power that they have with regards to following that order. And they understand that dynamic so much so that they adhere to that order in order for the overall, relationship from husband to wife to children, and they understand the umbrella of power that causes when they do that. But then there's a whole bunch of women out there who understand that order, but reject it completely because it does not fit with their identity.
Mm-hmm.
Their identity for them, or for that type of woman, is not to be identified as one who submits. Their identity is, I'm the leader, I do my thing, I have my own concepts. There are things that I will allow you to say yes to, but there are things that I will not allow you to say no to. And in that construct, there cannot be an umbrella of protection over that order, because it's in disorder. And the same responsibility falls with what you were saying earlier, Brother Lightborn, about men being cowards, not having the intestinal fortitude to make the sacrifice you may have to make in order to lead. Because when you lead, there are decisions that you're going to have to make that.
And you're not saying anything that I don't 100%. I wholeheartedly agree with every part of what you said, and I'm saying that because it is it becomes to me what has occurred is what you're describing is an insecurity that has occurred inside of people that they must make themselves bigger and better than a system, right? And some people will say, well, you're starting to sound a little, I know in my mind as I'm saying it, you sound like you're saying, oh, women should be submissive. They should be. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that a lot of times when you find people not willing to do what we're talking about is come together, work together as a unit, is because they don't understand unity. Because they're still dealing with some type of attachment, some type of trauma, some loss or something. So they're now, and I this is my new thing for the year, they are thinking of how they have been a victim of something. And we as Black people in America have all been victims, right? No matter how I don't care who you is, you've been a victim. And what in the trauma, in the drama triangle that's called, you then either can go from being a victim to a villain, or from a victim to a hero. And then the line between hero and villain is connected in that triangle. That triangle is like this. So you can't go, you go back and forth only from villain to hero, but you can't go the other way. You know, the triangle works the way you're going to go from being a victim to hero, victim to villain. And so many people in our society is dealing with their victim mentality that now I can't be anything but either I'm going to be a bad guy who gets what I want. So that means I can't be in cooperation. I can't be in covenant. I can't be in community because I have to be indifferent or I'll be a victim again. Because that's the mindset. The second that I may submit to somebody, I'm going to become a victim to them. And I don't want to be a victim. And then we have us who do it a lot as men and we do the victim to villain thing, but we do a lot more from victim to hero. But heroes don't really commit to anything because we're always going and flying around to solve problems, but we haven't really dealt with our own problems, right? So the way we solve everything is by fixing everybody else's, you know, and that works. I think that works vice versa, men and women. But it takes people to be able to spend the time to recognize, and I think be able to look at it and say, hey, what do we want to achieve? And the key word is we to achieve. Because what you're talking about, Ed, is the not having that ability, because the person don't care about we achieving. They're so focusing on fulfilling what's missing from them, they can't even get with the we.
But see,
they can't even see
what happens
I
is
want to add to that.
Hey, Travis, no, let Tenny finish and then go after him.
Okay.
All right. I just wanted to say that from a social media perspective, we're at a disadvantage of that because what you just described, Brother Ron, when men are being heroic, the narrative that has been defined is that you're weak. When women are playing the bad guy, refusing to be the victim, that is being heralded as being a hero. And so when you mention that triangle, Ron, I think it's upside down. I think it's upside down from a social media perspective because these young guys and young gals that are growing up and being influenced by these ideals, the hero is the zero, the victim is the hero, and never the twain shall meet, because we're going off the order that Brother Lightborn just described. And I don't have the answer on how to turn that triangle back upside down, where you got a nice firm foundation, where uh, the man is exercising um, courage in leadership, where the woman is exercising um, bravery in submission, because it takes trust and all this other kind of stuff to be able to submit, and that is not being heralded, and so even though that's the right way to go, that's not publicized.
Right.
It's not publicized, and it's not bragged about. It's not talked about. We don't brag about the successes of a heroic man. We don't brag about the successes of uh, a woman who's submitting to her husband and following that order. There is a war in social media that has flipped that triangle back on that apex, and that's why we're teetering back and forth with all these various issues and stuff like that. And like I said, I don't have the answer on how to fix it, but I do see the problem. And Brother Lightborn, you see it. Brother Ron, you see it. And I'm sure Brother Travis can see it as well.
Yeah,
That's all I gotta say. I don't have
let me
to
just say, Travis. Let me bring you right in, but I just want to just reframe what Ed said just a little bit at the end. We see it, and we're doing the best we can to speak about it, because that's the first part that is going to get acknowledged. We have a social media world that don't acknowledge that. They stay on the narrative of those two things we're talking about. Like this, you got to be this, you got to be that. But we, in this conversation we had, and a person is listening to this conversation, family, the first thing they're saying is they're able to listen and say, I can do something about it. I can't change. I might not can change it completely, but I can do something about how I handle it, how I handle it with my partner, or how I handle it with other people. And then I can talk to them about it, and we can have conversation, and we can begin to work out negotiation, compromise, plan for how we want to attack it. But the problem is, Ed, what you're describing is that social media is telling them that you're right about what you're saying and keep going stronger. Right? Don't even have a conversation. It's like this: someone has got to be right, somebody got to be wrong. And I keep saying it doesn't have to be right or wrong. Again, it's about how we deal with the situation, because once we acknowledge it in therapy, it's not about what your problem is. It's about when you acknowledge your problem, then you can figure out how you can begin to want to work through it. Because it's not you the one who got to work through it. The therapist can't tell you need to do this and do that. You have to realize that, hey, I like to eat food. I can't stop eating food. The question is, why do you want to eat food? And once you realize why you want to eat food, then you'll start saying, you know what? That's right for me. Okay, maybe I'll deal with that, and then I might see that I stop eating so much food the way that I eat food. Guess what just happened? Nobody told you that. Someone just presented some ideas and some conversation to you, and now you was able to work out a strategy and a plan. Because the humans are smart, man. We like to play that we're dumb. We don't know what to do. And every time I've dealt with kids, clients, just regular everyday family members, when they got a problem, you listen to them, let them tell you, and then they usually solve their own problem when they have an opportunity to talk it out. So I just wanted to add that part of it, because what we're talking about right now, man. Listen, if I could just send this to everybody's brain right now, this little conversation right now, we might change 50% of things that's going on in relationships and with people right now. But again, go ahead, Travis.
I love this conversation. Is like it's like nourishing to the soul. Like it's like eating food. We out here really having dinner right now. What I want to say, because we mentioned a lot of little things. It's like we make we make people operating in trauma okay. And I think honestly, we need to acknowledge, okay, yes, we all been through trauma, but we need to heal that trauma. We need to go into healing ourselves so that we can be wholeness and we can operate in wholeness instead of being operating in brokenness. I mean, the system that was taught to us, it's okay to be operating in brokenness, but we need to get into operating in wholeness. I'm glad that Lionel Breaks brought that up about basically the role of the family. That's the key of it all. Like the role of the family. The reason why we do certain things because we don't want to be cursed. We don't want our families to be cursed by the decisions that we made. And regardless of whatever people believe or what the situation is, the order has already been set for what needs to happen to have a blessed family for generations and generations and generations to come. The problem is that that's why we talk about having coward men. We are bending to what the world is saying, and now we are cursing our generations and generations and generations because we're not standing on nothing. I'm going back to that. If you stand for what you're standing for, if you're saying that at the end of the day you want your families to be blessed, generations and generations to come, we have to make that sacrifice now. We got to plan out our seed right now, saying this is what we're standing for. This is what my family is standing for, and we're gonna break that generational curse right now. Like the man is the head of the house. Yes, there's alpha man, there's beta man. There is a unified situation where the relationship comes in. But when a woman knows that she wants this man to run her household, at the end of the day, we know the role of it all. You gotta, when you have a submissive woman, when you have a helpmate, let's just put it real. When you have somebody that's a helpmate to your situation, they allow, I don't care what big position a woman may have, when she have a man that has the vision. Because I say, listen, people without a vision, they will perish. Like that's just general situation. But what happens is where the man vision is. A woman sees a man, and a woman sees a man sees a woman. But my thing is that once you make that unified situation, what is the vision for your family? What are you setting to make sure that this woman understands? I want you to help me with my vision, and my vision is to make sure that my family is not cursed. We want to continue to keep that blessing continuing to go further, because whatever I like in my household, and this is me. I mean, I'm only 40 years old, so I know what I know by just, I know what's right and I know what's wrong type of situation. So, but in my household, they know what time it is, and I stand on being the man of my house. I stand on being that father to my kids. I make sure that I'm the man first. Like I have to be that, because I didn't have that. I didn't have a man in the household. Yes, my mom was strong, but I had to understand something. My mom operated in what she knew, and that was she operated in survival. You know what I mean? And honestly, I didn't understand that as a kid. You don't understand exactly, but she loved me in her survival mode. She loved me in her brokenness. But I thought that was enough, and it was enough. But what it took me to get to a point where I had to become the man to stand up to like, yo, okay, she did what she did. But the reality is now it's time for me to take it to the next level. And I wanted to break that generational curse of having just single family homes. Like we got to have a unified situation. And when you choose that right woman, everything else happens.
Well, let me say, Travis.
Who taught you that?
Zach, there you go. Thank you. Thank you, Ed.
You that?
Listen,
was
the
it
word.
Your mom
I told my mom the best thing she could ever done was to introduced me to God. Like I say at the end of the day, like it wasn't about going to a church. It was just basically she brought me to a man that was worth being worshipped. You know what I mean? Like she brought
that
me
was your father figure.
That's what I'm, and see that was and God was my first love. So I would tell you that in the day I fell in love with my father first. You know what I mean? I love this man, the image of who he was, and I wanted to be him. So it's like when you set that bar, like it's like at the end of the day, my father, like before I knew who my father was, I already had a father like that was almighty, like that everybody knew, that everybody talked about in his life while he was alive and while he was dead. Like so for me, when I teach kids about standing for something, I'm going off of what my dad taught me. Like when he was able to say, "Hey, I'm bringing my son to be on the cross to die for our sins." Like, yo, that's love. Like that's dying for something for real. How many people willing to do that though? And that's where, at the end of the day, it comes from a real man or a coward man. Are you willing to die for what you standing on for real? That's all I'm about.
Well said.
I'll say this because I think that Ed was alluding to what I was going to say is that you have to have a model, right? You can't just let someone make one for you. Mm-hmm. Your model, Travis, was definitely the idea of the making in many aspects. You said the mom took you to the Lord and the Lord became your model. For me, it wasn't the Lord who became my model. The model was just by circumstances, the men that my mother dated were involved with my stepfather, some men the men that she brought around me. And I think this was a bigger part. But the bigger part of those men was me already having my own father that I knew, right? So I when you think about it, and people say, well, you grew up with your mom, how do you have such this man-centered way of thinking about things? Because I was reared around women, but with a strong male influence, very strong. The strongest influence first ever was my own father, right? My own very own father was the first strongest influence. And because if this is something that a lot of parents don't know and they don't think about, because I wasn't with him, I was more drawn to everything he would do in life because of my genetics. So despite him not being there, everything that I knew about him, I wanted to know more, I wanted to do more. But I then had an aspect of having men who were good influences, who were good positive men, who were there physically in this place. But then once I was old enough to begin to visit my father, then all of that just compounded right into one of making me the type of man that I was. And so and that doesn't happen for a lot of people because some men and women never have a male influence. Even in the point of how you describe it, Travis, if they even try to use the Lord, they are so broken that the Lord can't even be the model that they need. And I know someone will say, well, that seems, but I just want you to think about it. They are so broken by the chance of not having that biological. You can have a spiritual father. You know, the Lord is our spiritual father, but there is a biological part that you feel that, you know, you want to be able, I can touch the Lord, but I love to touch Gerard. And I use my dad's name in that reference. I want to touch Gerard because Gerard is and I am the flesh of his flesh. And I did have some, and that's why I said there's a lot of attachment, a lot of brokenness of loss, because I forget the name of it, right? The ACEs evaluation for children, right? The number one thing on there is loss of parents. And we have so many kids that get evaluated with that, and they don't understand why. And then you say, hey, they don't have a loss of parent because their mom brought them in. And you ask them, well, what about their dad? Oh, he's not in their life. Well, there's the start of a lot of the problems they having because you're not even willing to acknowledge that the loss of parent of a father is a loss of parent. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So now they're in these kids end up being in cognitive dissonance to believe that they're okay because they have their mother, and having a father doesn't mean anything.
Well,
that becomes something they have to deal with, and sometimes depending on how I think rearing their mother may be, how rearing she is, and this is not a negative, but being how rearing she is, that it then may even cause them to even question and challenge themselves about even reaching to another parent because that mother becomes everything. You gave everything. I mean, listen. Let me give a great example. I was just listening on social media, one of these shows that's on the same kind of narrative, and they were reading the story about a young lady who her mom must have raised her, did it, whatever, but she wanted her dad to walk her down the aisle, and her mom said, "If your dad walking down the aisle, I'm not going to be involved with the wedding." And I didn't get to hear. Just they had a little 5-minute clip, and I thought about like the pain. I thought about first. Look at the pain that the mother has, and she's still willing to leave that pain to be on her child as well, because the child has forgiven. But you don't. Now you're going to cause another pain if the child, because you haven't forgiven, right? Because if we want to say if you haven't forgiven, the child has forgiven, and so now you're going to cause the child pain because they have practiced one of the moral principles that God asks us to do is for forgiveness. And so then I say, see, this mom may still have some issues that she needs to resolve. And I'm just using this as an example because that was the story. Not saying mom's right, dad is right. Because I gotta always. If you spend more time having to give this kind of like, oh, I don't mean it to be this way, but I'm using the story, and the story was that. I mean, we can reverse it and say it was a mom when the dad said that the mom was involved with it, but that's not it. It is traditional that dads walk daughters down the aisle, right? And then the daughter decided she wants her dad, even if he was cracked 20 years, he just came back, even if he, no matter what he did, if she made a decision to say, I want that, how does that become, how does she heal when other people around her won't allow her to heal?
Yep. And that's where we talk about PTSD. We talk about PTSD, and when people mention that word, immediately you think about a veteran, right? When I say PTSD, but we know people go through stress and trauma every day. It's not necessarily a veteran who has PTSD. As you said, the mom, fathers, children, and you're right. There needs to be some medium that they can reach out to, some group that can help them through those stress, those past traumas that are still lingering and affecting people from moving forward. So you're right, Ron. It's sad that they have to go to that point, but obviously there might have been some trauma, and the mother might not have gotten it. Some of those feelings dealt with.
You know what I love about us as Black people, and particularly in this mental health climate that we in. And listen to me, I am not anti-mental health, but I'm gonna tell you, I ain't pro-mental health either. And so when we talk about these different studies like ACEs and PTSD, how Black people is always like the guinea pig for all this crap. You understand? We allow their studies to be circumstantial and never historical. You understand? And so when you're talking about ACEs, and it seems to like say that every child have different levels of ACEs, right? And it puts everybody in almost on the historical same level. And I'm like, no, if you don't understand the fact that yes, Black ACEs fall, African American ACEs fall, and if you haven't really had a what they call it when you not saying have a disability, but yeah, I'm like, no, it's not a disability, it's a disadvantage. And so when you make that's the word, accommodations. And so ACEs, and I can push back on ACEs all day because I'm not impressed by ACEs. ACEs does nothing for me. So I mean, somebody who's like, oh, a little green and whatever, they feel, oh, ACEs is garbage because it doesn't factor in the historical factors, and it doesn't even talk about the stresses those historical factors has actually scientifically proven to actually come to a just conclusion.
when it comes to African Americans and their children. And so that's why I'm not impressed by it. I'm like, it's very basic to me. But again, I'm not impressed by it because it doesn't really dig deep. And it doesn't really itemize, right? And talk about the accountable traumas of all of America. It just focuses on, and I'm gonna tell you something, the strategy hides itself behind children. That's the disingenuousness it is for me. And so as long as we talk about a study that can possibly improve children, it hides behind children to really prop itself up. And nobody really challenged. I think black people should always challenge that. Never be impressed by something. Oh, ACEs, what are you talking about? And how far does it go back? And how does it make the accommodation for African American history versus everybody else's history in America? So we have to challenge these studies. And I'm gonna be honest with you, be the people who listen, even if you don't have the education at these tables, at least have the damn common sense to do so. I'm never impressed by none of these conferences. They're all garbage to me. Studies. And they quit to come to the back African American community because they know the Medicaid is high and they got the probability of getting paid to run that crap on our people. That's how I feel about it. But the other, you got 50% of it. I like when you got that. Matter of fact, the psychologist who just died too, the black psychologist. What's his name, Ron?
Huh?
The black Kunjufu.
Kunjufu, yeah.
It was Kunjufu.
Yeah.
Okay. He been pushing about this.
Kunjufu.
You're talking about a man who does the studies, right? These are black intellects who does this. We got black neurologists who know the studies. And we're sitting around here quoting white studies.
Well, I mean, I think like Boy, that's exactly the point this is exactly the point I was trying to point out in when you look at something like ACEs, right? The hypocrisy of it is that they will go with that rating and that score of it, right? They'll say, oh yeah, this is what it is, without looking at the cultural dynamics of it and how misleading it can be. Because they'll say, oh, a kid without a parent and not acknowledge that, hey, what about the other thing about the components of resilience in kids who may understand why their other parent not there. We see, it's always not really looking completely. It's really looking at a way to diagnose for financial gain. That's what I call most of these things to me. That's why I don't do diagnosis. That's why as a therapist, I don't do insurance, because if we do insurance, you have to give a person a diagnosis. Then the person accepts and believes that they are this diagnosis. Then they begin to act out the diagnosis that at this point is something that somebody made up to give you an excuse for things that you do, when some of it is just you, the person, and deal with it as you being the person, not saying, oh, I'm this or I'm that.
Gotcha.
Hold on, what? Somebody in here, hold on, let me see what this person said. Have Mackenzie Moore say ACEs can be triggering. It can tell you have trauma factors that you are not even consciously aware of. Then you become your focus. Right. This is what listen. I just seen this come up, and this is exactly what I was just. This is exactly what I was just pointing out, that what happens very often is any diagnosis gives people an excuse to be when gives them an excuse for what they do. And then guess what happens? You don't have to face a responsibility, accountability of your actions or what you do. You just say, oh man, I'm bipolar. The bipolar used to be the most famous, but now the most famous now is people are narcissists. And the problem is that everybody use narcissists and not realizing that here you like to use it because other people use it, but the people who use a narcissist have never even looked at what is the opposite, what is the female version of narcissist. It's historic. So they are just saying everybody is a narcissist. And so again, when I'm looking at this, it's not my practice of using it, but I sometimes get so annoyed because I'm hearing people use these diagnoses from the DSM-5, who clearly we know can't be legitimate, I put my, listen, cannot be legitimate because there are a group of 30 to 40 or 200 people who write these diagnoses up and make a determination of should they stay or go. Because if something is permanent, it wouldn't change over the decades of time. Yo, our issues with our heart have not really changed. Our heart is our heart, and if you got a heart problem, you got a heart problem. We haven't started saying, "Oh, we would take the heart problems out of the book because we don't have heart problems no more." And this is these are some of the things that really can be detrimental. As like going this even pointing out, and I have vigorously pointed out, and why I don't like to deal with people using a diagnosis or self-diagnosing themselves is because it becomes what I call I had it on the tip of my tongue. It becomes this false positive. So you thinking that, oh yeah, I found out what my issue was, I'm this, but that's false because that's not your issue. You need to focus more on what your real issue is and not look for a label to solve your problem. And then you go through all the steps of what this label has said, and that you're still finding yourself. Now 2 weeks later, now you're saying, oh, I think I'm depressed, and I got anxiety because I never got to figure out that I was a narcissist, but I'm not. Listen.
But Ron,
it just becomes. But again, it is also back to I think like when you said it before, and I will continue to say is the capitalization for capitalization. If it wasn't to make the money, they wouldn't be doing it. And we know that things that are benefiting people that don't make money is no support for it.
But you know what is a good example of that? And you said the hypocrisy. Because what we're gonna do, and we're gonna teach, since we're on the think tank, let's just put everybody on the same playing field. So you guys can have more clarity on what I'm talking about. Oh, and shout out to Mackenzie Moore. I see you over there, yo boy. You're a brilliant guy in the community, man. He does a great work. So everybody can get understanding. The whole mental health field and all that other stuff is built on the DSM, right? The DSM is like the Bible for mental health, correct? These are the people, they write a lot of diagnoses. They study in secrecy. So they're the people that actually come up with this stuff is not actually published. You don't get the name of the people who actually put the studies out. So the book is created, but it's created by a bunch of psychologists, selected psychologists in secrecy, right? And then they put this Bible out there that's for the mental health profession. The problem, and back to Ron's hypocrisy, this is the bigger hypocrisy, but we don't talk about it because it's very controversial. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you what it is right now. So this same Bible, this same hypocrisy, I mean, not hypocrisy, but partially hypocrisy. This same Bible put out their first diagnosis out, their first book out, and their first diagnosis out had homosexuality as a diagnosis.
I was leaving that alone, like boy, but go ahead.
We're going to talk about it. I'll be damned, it's a think tank, we're going to talk about it. And so the same DSM, this is the mental health. I'm talking about the original, and at the beginning of the mental health I'm talking about up to recently, maybe 20 years ago, had homosexuality as a mental health diagnosis with a whole plethora of treatment and everything that goes along with it. Okay, so now you have the LGBT community. They organize, they get power, they get strength, they get everything they need, and now all of a sudden the diagnosis is actually they apologize for the diagnosis and they change everything and say, oh, homosexuality is not a diagnosis anymore. Our bad. You understand? We made the mistake of calling you because here it is, supposed to be the smartest people in America saying we made the mistake of diagnosing you guys or diagnosing you at all because who you are or even what you are, it's not really a sickness no more. It used to be a sickness, but now it's not a sickness anymore. You understand? This is the book you're dealing with. This is the disrespect and the hypocrisy I don't like. You understand? About the mental health profession. If we're going to talk about the mental health profession in its totality, from beginning to end. And so what I'm saying is, and not just not for the homosexuality, they had a part on there where the mental health profession, if the woman, right, disobeyed her husband, that was a diagnosis. You see it in movies, but it's actually true. So if a woman disobeyed her husband, that was considered a diagnosis as well. And she can actually be, a husband can actually admit her to, to a mental health ward. Simply because she died. All this is historically true. And so when we talk about the mental health profession, we talk about always the treatment. I'm like, yeah, but we have to also understand the mistreatments of the mental health profession. And those are conversations I love to have. Of course, I know they won't want to have me on the panel. I'm like, don't invite me to your conferences because you know this ain't gonna be farewell for you guys. Because I know the history of you. And guess what? It's just straight common sense. I'm like, man, listen, everybody got a history. We so busy being traumatized by our history, we don't challenge other people's history and their trauma. So even the mental health profession by itself has its own trauma within itself. And they're supposed to be the one that actually administers treatment. So I'm like, no, the mental health profession will not get a pass from me. Yes, I'm 50% mental health, but the other 50% I'm totally anti. But that's just only because of the history of it. So that's just me, man. I mean, y'all know how I get about it, but I'm not. If it's a think tank, we're gonna think it all the way out. We're not just gonna leave people. No, like, no, let's talk about the whole history.
Right. Well, listen. You see how the time fly when we start getting heated and hot. We started slow, and then we start getting like a slow locomotive, and now we like a speed train. And the time is up. Listen. I definitely want to thank you guys, man, for this conversation because tonight's conversation was one that definitely is a good place for us to evaluate where we're starting, what we start, and where we're going to start at. And we started here tonight. I mean, we started looking at the different steps that we could be on, and what we want to get done, how we, what we're thinking about, what steps have we reached today. But today we reached I think we really reached to a movement of things we kind of talked about today, and that hopefully people will hear it and people will start thinking about it and have more conversations and more thoughts about this completely and wholly. So I'm definitely all for that. Let me read this last comment, then we're gonna get up out of here. McKenzie say doctors are called, so it's hard to sue them when they.
That's hard.
Yeah. Well, listen. That goes all the way across the board for everything, McKenzie. Everybody finds some unique way to protect themselves from really doing whatever they want to do to you. So we're gonna keep that in your mind. And here we go. I can't go without clearly thanking our sponsors for the night. Fatherhood Think Tank is sponsored by JAG, Attorney at Law, Miami-Dade, Broward, West Palm Beach. You can reach out to JAG, Attorney at Law. That's our good friend and member of the Fatherhood Think Tank, Johnny A. Gaspar Esquire. He can be reached at j.gaspar@jag1law.com. All his phone numbers 305-827-8087. Or you can go to his website. It's www.jag1law.com. If you have some kind of legal issues, things you're looking to take care of, I think he can handle it. I think he's practicing in the whole state of Florida, so he can definitely. Well, I think that's the way it works. Like me, he got a license to work in the whole state. But sometimes we know he's working. Well, let me correct myself because it said crystal clear here, Miami-Dade, Broward, and West Palm Beach. So if you're in Miami-Dade, Broward, and West Palm Beach, this is the man for you. And hit him up and see what he can do. He's a proud sponsor of proud member of the Fatherhood Think Tank, and a proud sponsor. So I definitely want to thank him for being a sponsor of tonight's show. Yes, he is. With that being said, I want to again thank.
Wait. Hey, Jag, he specialized in civil and family law.
Civil and family law. There we go.
So
Civil and family.
Which is good. You want to do civil and family law because particularly when it becomes to protecting your assets or setting your assets up, he's really good at that. So if you wanted to put a trust together and different things like that, actually Johnny can help you do that. So to protect your assets and protect your family, so definitely reach out to him. He's good at that.
Yep. So then we had that full conversation, all that conversation, talk to you. With that being said, Father, repeat after me. I am.
I am.
Come in.
I said I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of honor.
I am
a man of honor.
I say I am.
I said I
am.
I am a man of courage.
I am
a man of courage.
I say, fathers, I am.
I am.
I am a man of respect.
I am a
man of respect.
Fathers, I say that I am.
I am.
I say that you are.
I say that you are.
I say that we are.
I say that we are.
Championship
Father. Okay.
I know.
Hey, Ron.
With that being said, listen, we can tell you.
Talking about you got stuck.
I got stuck. Listen, hey, we just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Listen, go back. If you just catching some of it, you catch a little bit, tell somebody to go to one of the page. They go to the Facebook page. They can go to the YouTube page. Check out the Fatherhood Think Tank Facebook and YouTube page. Check out some old videos and get the schedule for the new shows when they come up. If you want to be a member, you want to come on to the Fatherhood Think Tank and have a conversation or sit in the studio and listen. All of that is there for you to be able to do. With that being said, thanks everybody. Good night, fathers, and we'll see y'all here next week at the Fatherhood Think Tank.
Hey, Ron, don't forget to say Happy Father's Day.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I did talk about Father's Day. Listen, Father's Day is this weekend, so let me just say this to all the fathers out there. That's including everybody on here and fathers out there who are listening. Happy Father's Day. Remember that if you're not the father you want to be now, you still have time to be the father that you can be later. So don't ever give up on your fatherhood. I'll say that. Never give up. You can continue to be a father. You make the determination of the father that you're going to be. Don't let other people dictate the kind of father you're going to be because they can't, because they're not you and they're not the father that you are. With that being said, good night, and we'll see you all here next week at the Fatherhood Think Tank.
Good night.